The heavens suddenly darkened, and even the blazing sun in the sky seemed to tremble, retreating behind the clouds in fear. An endless surge of demonic aura swept across the sky, causing the entire world to shudder beneath the massive demonic shadow. Over the sea, flying fish vanished without a trace, and even the sea breeze fell into a deathly silence. On the island, the brutal battles abruptly came to a halt as if frozen in time. Countless eyes turned upward in horror, staring at that demonic shadow. An indescribable fear began to coil deep within their hearts like vines, draining the color from their faces. That shadow, seemingly the emperor from an alien world, descended with overwhelming dominance. In this world, no one could stand against it. Alien demon emperor? Lin Dong's voice trembled as he looked at the shadow. Could this truly be the alien demon king that only the legendary Ancestral Talisman master could contend with? That is merely a projection of the alien demon emperor. The real alien demon emperor was sealed along with a dimensional rift by my master. There's no way this guy could summon the true form. What resides within that skull talisman is merely a strand of the alien demon emperor's hair. Yan's voice echoed at that moment. A projection of the alien demon emperor? Lin Dong was momentarily stunned, then sharply inhaled. A mere strand of hair could command such power. What kind of terrifying existence would the true body of the alien demon emperor be? Heh, Lin Dong, this is your death sentence. Beneath the shadow of the demon emperor, the seventh king sneered viciously at Lin Dong, his hands forming a sudden seal. Boom. As his hand seal changed, the projection of the demon emperor slowly raised its hand and swatted towards Lin Dong. The motion was light, without any shocking waves of energy, yet Lin Dong sensed a fatal danger. He wanted to dodge but was horrified to find himself immobilized, as if the space around him had been locked down. Damn it! Lin Dong cursed inwardly. His dark pupils suddenly turned a dazzling silver, and silver light erupted from his body, pushing his control over spatial power to its peak. Whoosh! The demon hand passed by lightly, and wherever it moved, even the surrounding primordial energy was wiped out of existence. Then, under the cold gaze of the seventh king, the hand struck Lin Dong's position. As the hand swept through, Lin Dong's spot was empty. Countless powerful onlookers below turned pale. Had Lin Dong been wiped out of existence as well? Space Ancestral Talisman, huh? That is indeed troublesome. The seventh king's expression darkened as he looked to the distance, where the space twisted and Lin Dong's figure eerily reappeared. Cold sweat beaded on Lin Dong's forehead. Had he been even a moment slower, he would have been struck. Although the blow wouldn't have killed him, it would have inflicted severe injuries. This time, you won't escape, the seventh king sneered, changing his hand seal once more. The demon emperor's projection raised its hand again, the dark palm seeming to cover the heavens as it pressed down on Lin Dong. Roar! Seeing this, a fierce light ignited in Lin Dong's eyes. He threw his head back and roared, a dragon's howl reverberating through the air as countless violet gold dragon patterns surged forth like a tidal wave. The violet gold dragon patterns condensed rapidly as Lin Dong pushed his primordial energy to its limit. In the blink of an eye, the dragon patterns numbered 15,000, a terrifying count. 15,000 dragon patterns coiled around Lin Dong, and the roar of 10,000 dragons echoed, their might shaking the heavens. Boom! With a cold expression, Lin Dong hurled his violet gold dragon spear, and the 15,000 dragon patterns followed, charging toward the demon emperor's massive hand. Haha! You dare resist in the presence of my emperor? How foolish! The seventh king laughed wildly as the demon emperor's hand clashed with the violet gold dragon patterns. There was no deafening sound, just a brief pause. Then, to everyone's horror, the countless dragon patterns vanished into nothingness. The demon emperor's projection was terrifying beyond measure. In the battle area of the Gu clan, Gumengqi and Guya were both pale as they witnessed this scene. Their delicate hands clenched tightly as they looked toward the slender figure in the sky. Above, Lin Dong's expression turned grim as he saw his strongest attack fail to leave a mark. Taking a deep breath, he extended his hand, and lightning began to crackle. A bow formed of pure lightning appeared, its power palpable. The seventh king froze momentarily upon seeing Lin Dong finally unleash the black arrow from the thunder bow that had once gravely injured him. However, he quickly let out a cold laugh, his voice dripping with disdain. "Do you truly believe you can break through the Demon Emperor's projection?" His gaze, filled with malice, locked onto Lin Dong as he sneered, "Let me show you the true meaning of despair and fear." Lin Dong ignored the taunt, pulling the thunder bow into a full arc. The black arrow trembled slightly, as if resonating with an ancient, chaotic light that emerged from a mysterious void, enveloping the arrow. In that moment, the vast primordial energy surrounding Lin Dong dissipated completely, leaving him as ordinary as a common mortal. Despite this transformation, those present on the island could feel an undercurrent of unimaginable power surging beneath his calm facade. A force so overwhelming it seemed capable of shaking the heavens and earth. Every spectator clenched their fists tightly, the tension palpable. Lin Dong's attack carried immense weight. But could it truly vanquish the terrifying Demon Emperor's projection? If he failed, the morale of the strong cultivators on the island would plummet, leaving them powerless against the alien demon horde. Blood would flow unrestrained, turning the island into a sea of carnage. Exhaling softly, Lin Dong released a breath of white mist. A piercing gleam flashed through his black eyes, sharp and radiant like the midday sun. His fingers, tightly gripping the bowstring, suddenly let go. Whoosh! The black arrow shot forth, cutting through the air without any ostentatious energy surge. Its speed was indescribable, a fleeting black streak visible only for an instant before it struck the massive hand of the Demon Emperor's projection with a resounding impact. Time seemed to freeze. The arrow and the giant hand clashed, locked in a fierce stalemate. This time, however, the Demon Emperor's hand did not easily crush its opposition. The black arrow trembled violently, as if an invisible force was nullifying the overwhelming power radiating from the hand. There were no dazzling explosions, no shockwaves of destructive energy, only a silent confrontation that exuded unparalleled tension. The seventh king watched intently, his eyes narrowing as a trace of malevolence flickered within. Gritting his teeth, he slapped his chest hard, spitting out a viscous, blackened blood that glistened like crystal. The blood shot into the projection of the Demon Emperor, merging seamlessly. With the infusion of this black blood, the projection grew sharper, its once blurred eyes faintly glowing with a sinister red light. "Break it!" the seventh king roared, his face twisted in a savage snarl. Boom! At his command, the Demon Emperor's massive hand clenched fiercely. Cracks began to spiderweb across the black arrow until it shattered completely under the crushing force. The spectators on the island turned pale as despair set in. Was it over? Had Lin Dong truly lost? With a cough, Lin Dong spewed a mouthful of blood, staggering backward several steps from the backlash. His figure wavered, weakened but unyielding. Ha ha ha! The seventh king's laughter echoed maniacally as his disheveled hair and contorted face added to his menacing appearance. Even your strongest attack has failed. What else can you do now? Yet Lin Dong remained calm, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. Slowly raising his head, he gazed at the seventh king with a faint smile. That power, it's still not enough. As his words fell, Lin Dong once again pulled the thunder bow. Blood trickled down the bowstring, blending with the black light coalescing around the arrow. This time, the arrow's darkness deepened, its aura becoming even more foreboding. "Still struggling?" the seventh king mocked with a sneer. "Out of tricks already, aren't you?" Lin Dong ignored the ridicule, his eyes shutting slowly as his consciousness delved deep into the recesses of his being. He sought the elusive connection, the profound force still waiting to be awakened. "That power, come forth," he murmured, his voice a barely audible whisper that carried an indescribable gravity. In the depths of his soul, Lin Dong's awareness expanded, slipping into an infinite void of chaos. The sensation was akin to returning to the womb, an intoxicating state that tempted him to remain adrift forever. but the indomitable will within him refused to yield. Through sheer resolve, his consciousness broke free from the allure, a commanding voice resounding in the chaotic expanse. "Grant me your strength." The tightly shut eyes suddenly opened, and within the depths of the dark pupils, a flicker of chaotic light flashed. It was as if an invisible ray of chaotic light descended, illuminating the black arrow. Gradually, the black arrow's hue transformed, eventually becoming a chaos arrow. The corners of Lin Dong's lips curved into a faint smile. He glanced at the seventh king and smiled faintly. Then, with a sharp release of his fingers on the bowstring, the chaos arrow shot forth, carrying its enigmatic power. Under countless gazes, tense to the point of suffocation, it once again streaked across the sky. A beam of chaotic brilliance flashed through the heavens, radiating a light reminiscent of the world's creation, a light imbued with an unparalleled sense of mystery. As the arrow, shrouded in chaotic brilliance, surged forward, the pupils of the seventh king abruptly contracted. A moment later, a violent glint appeared in his eyes. "Die!" The seventh king's face contorted with rage. His hands came together, weaving intricate and ominous seals as he roared, "Hand of Annihilation." High above, the vague silhouette of the demon emperor's hand grew more defined. In its shadowy eyes, a malevolent red light flared. The colossal hand itself solidified, its palm brimming with the most sinister demonic aura. That aura, if touched, was potent enough to obliterate even a reincarnation stage powerhouse. Shrock! The demon emperor's massive hand suddenly reached forward, fracturing the sky itself. In the next moment, under countless breathless gazes, it clashed violently with the unassuming chaos arrow. Buzz! A strange hum resonated from above, spreading ripples of energy across the sky like visible waves. The expanding energy shockwaves covered the vast heavens, seemingly endless. At the epicenter of this turmoil, the demon emperor's hand and the chaos arrow locked in a deadlock. Yet, even amid this stalemate, the chaos arrow remained utterly motionless, its shaft steadfast, without a single tremor. Roar! The seventh king, witnessing this, grew even more frenzied. A guttural roar erupted from his throat as his eyes glinted fiercely. His arms suddenly cracked, black blood oozing from dense fissures that quickly covered his entire limb. "Fool! Dare to challenge me? I'll make you regret it." The seventh king sneered maniacally at Lin Dong. Then, without hesitation, his mangled arm exploded into pieces. Black blood and crystalline fragments scattered, surging toward the demon emperor's hand that was grappling with the chaos arrow. With the infusion of this dark blood, the demon emperor's hand grew even more distinct. Strange runes began to surface faintly on its surface, amplifying its ominous aura. On the island below, countless warriors turned pale at the sight. The seventh king's ruthlessness, sacrificing an arm to crush Lin Dong, was terrifying. Could Lin Dong's chaos arrow, imbued with his strongest power, truly hold its ground? Gu Mingqi and the others clenched their fists tightly, their expressions fraught with tension and worry. If Lin Dong failed again, the morale of the warriors on the island would undoubtedly plummet. "Lin Dong, you can do it," whispered Gu Yan, her small fists clenched tightly. Squeak! The demon emperor's massive hand pressed downward, and the chaos arrow trembled slightly as if it was succumbing to the overwhelming shadow. A shadow akin to the demon emperor's hand of destruction reaching out to extinguish all. However, Lin Dong's expression grew increasingly calm in the face of this dire situation. He took a deep breath and murmured softly, "Supreme, banish the demon." Buzz! The chaos arrow quivered sharply before bursting with chaotic light. In the wake of this explosion, the descending demon emperor's hand was forcibly halted, unable to move further. As the hand faltered, the seventh king's face changed drastically. Staring at the chaos arrow, now steady and unyielding in the grasp of the demon emperor's hand, unease crept into his heart. This arrow seemed different from before. Chirp! While the seventh king was struck by this sudden foreboding, the chaos arrow emitted a sharp, crystalline sound. Then, All the chaotic light around it retracted into the arrow itself. Buzz, buzz. The chaos arrow now shone with a translucent brilliance, exuding a mystical, ancient power. This energy was the complete antithesis of the sinister aura of the demon emperor's hand. Yet, it carried an unstoppable force, unyielding and absolute. The arrow's fletching vibrated furiously, and at its tip, a faint otherworldly glow emerged. The next moment, the chaos arrow quaked, and with a thunderous roar, it shot forth. The radiance swept open, and suddenly, a vast surge of demonic aura erupted from the Demon King's enormous hand, attempting to block the sudden explosion of the long arrow. However, the long arrow seemed to be guided by some divine force, as the chaotic light tore through the dense, almost tangible demonic energy. In the midst of countless shocked gazes, it violently pierced through the Demon King's hand, then charged up his arm with unstoppable momentum, finally shooting straight through his head, emerging from the top of his skull. Whoosh! The long arrow shot out from the Demon King's head, soaring into the 9 heavens, its rainbow light like a giant dragon, radiating an unparalleled arrogance. Boom! 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 From within the Demon King's phantom form, deep and rumbling explosions echoed, and then, in the horrified gazes of countless alien demons, the massive body exploded. The 7th king stood there dumbfounded, staring at the exploded Demon King's phantom. The skull seal in his hand suddenly shattered, and a strand of black hair ignited spontaneously, quietly turning to ash and drifting away. Pfft! A mouthful of thick black blood erupted from the 7th king's mouth. He stared in disbelief at the scene. Had the Demon King's phantom really been destroyed by Lin Dong? How is this possible? His body trembled, his gaze growing increasingly horrified as he looked at Lin Dong, who stood in the distance, holding the thunder bow, his face somewhat pale. This scene was clearly beyond his expectations. On the island, countless powerful warriors stared at the spectacle, stunned for a moment, before erupting into thunderous cheers. With the destruction of that terrifying Demon King phantom, the oppressive pressure lifted, and morale soared across the island. Gu Mingqi and Gu Yin exchanged a glance, both seeing the shock and delight in each other's eyes. In the sky, Lin Dong heard the deafening cheers from below. Slowly, he relaxed his grip on the thunder bow. Fortunately, he had reached the reincarnation stage, or else the terrifying drain would have been too much to bear, even with the devouring ancestral talisman restoring him. Now, what other tricks do you have left? Lin Dong's fierce gaze turned toward the 7th king. At this moment, the latter's face was ashen, and his demonic aura was disordered. Clearly, he had sustained a grave injury. This was the perfect moment to strike. The 7th king felt Lin Dong's gaze, and his pupils contracted slightly. He clenched his teeth in frustration. This kid was becoming more and more difficult with each encounter. If it weren't for the Demon King phantom blocking that arrow earlier, he might have been in extreme danger. Boom! As his eyes darkened, a surge of violet gold light erupted around Lin Dong, as thousands of dragon roars filled the air. His figure flickered, and in a twist of space, he appeared before the 7th king. Without mercy, his fists flew, each blow infused with the power of dragon fists capable of shattering mountains, relentlessly striking the 7th king. Boom! 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 The 7th king, badly wounded, struggled to stabilize his breath. The numerous defensive layers formed by his demonic aura were completely shattered by Lin Dong's ferocious assault. Lin Dong's fist, like a giant violet gold dragon, crashed into his body. The terrifying force erupted, and the 7th king was immediately sent flying back, black blood spraying from his severed arm. His demon emperor armor dimmed, and deep fist marks were left in its wake. At this moment, the 7th king appeared utterly powerless to fight back. The 7th king spat out a mouthful of black blood. His face twisted with rage as he glared at Lin Dong, his eyes burning with hatred, as if he wanted to burn Lin Dong to the ground. Go join the 9th king. Lin Dong grinned savagely at him. His figure once again appeared in front of the 7th king. With a firm grip, the violet gold dragon essence coalesced into a spear, and without hesitation, he thrust it toward the seventh king's throat. "So you're the one who killed the ninth king?" The seventh king's face changed instantly upon hearing this. Lin Dong ignored him, his eyes still fierce. The dragon spear was closing in on the seventh king. But just as it was about to strike, Lin Dong noticed an eerie smile spread across the seventh king's face. "You brat. You really are hard to deal with, but killing you, I suppose it'll still be a mission accomplished." An eerie smile appeared on the seventh king's face. Then, with his remaining arm, he reached out and firmly grasped the dragon spear. The terrifying power he displayed was nothing like the weakness from before. Lin Dong's pupils contracted as he saw this strange change. A sense of unease suddenly surged in his heart. His body flashed with silver light, and he was about to retreat. Trying to escape? The seventh king grinned, his body shifting as two new arms sprouted from his torso. These arms formed a strange seal, and as dense demonic energy surged, they struck Lin Dong's chest like lightning. As the demonic aura surged, it seemed even the sky trembled. Then, to everyone's shock, Lin Dong, who had just gained the upper hand, suddenly spat blood and was sent flying backward. His chest visibly caved in. It was clear he had suffered a terrifying blow. A mouthful of blood sprayed from Lin Dong's lips. He hastily steadied himself, his gaze cold and grim as it locked onto the writhing form of the seventh king. Something sinister seemed to be lurking within the latter's body. Well, your physical body is truly impressive. Even after taking a combined strike from the three of us, you're still alive." The seventh king's form twisted grotesquely, and from within him came a buzzing, sinister laugh. Thick, viscous demonic aura poured out from his body, ultimately coalescing into two shadowy figures that now stood menacingly by his side. One shadow was tall and imposing, while the other was slender and lean. Both stared at Lin Dong with unsettling smiles, though their expressions radiated murderous intent. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am the eighth king of the demon prison," said the taller figure with a mocking grin. "I think I've seen you before, kid. You're the one who inherited the legacy of the devouring lord, aren't you?" The other shadow's gaze swept over Lin Dong, his tone light-hearted yet chilling. This figure was none other than the 10th king, who had appeared in the fractured space before. To everyone's horror, two more demon kings had emerged from the 7th king's body. This must have been a hidden trump card meant to counter the lord of the primordial wilderness. However, it had been forced into play by Lin Dong. On the island, the cheers from the crowd abruptly ceased. Many trembled as fear set in. It had been hard enough to contend with the 7th king alone. Now, two more demon kings of equal strength had appeared. How could they possibly fight this? Lin Dong slowly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes filled with icy determination. These alien demons were truly devious, and things had just gotten significantly more troublesome. With his current strength, barely managing the 7th king was his limit. Adding two more into the mix. Still, Lin Dong smirked darkly, baring his teeth. "If you want to reach the primordial wilderness tower, you'll have to step over my dead body first." The three demon kings sneered in unison. Without another word, they moved to strike, clearly intent on eradicating Lin Dong, the thorn in their side. Just as they were about to attack, the atmosphere suddenly turned frigid. A biting cold spread through the air, causing even the surging demonic aura to gradually freeze and still. Lin Dong felt the sudden chill, and his expression shifted. He quickly turned his gaze downward, only to see the massive ice prison shatter into countless fragments. A figure cloaked in icy blue emerged gracefully from the ruins, followed by three radiant ice sculptures. The figure stood amidst the frosty haze, her icy blue eyes devoid of any emotion as she looked coldly at the three demon kings. Her frosty voice echoed across the heavens. "You want to kill him? I don't agree." The spreading chill seemed to envelop the entire battlefield. Under its influence, not only did the demonic aura stagnate, but even the vast waves of primordial energy began to freeze as though trapped in ice. The abrupt change stunned everyone on both sides. Countless gazes turned toward the source of the chill, where Ying Huanhuan slowly stepped forward. With each step, Crystalline ice lotuses bloomed beneath her feet, dazzling and otherworldly. Behind her, the 3 ice sculptures sparkled with a chilling brilliance. These were 3 true kings, each of whom had survived a nirvana tribulation. Yet now, they had all been reduced to lifeless ice statues. The onlookers, including many powerful figures, were stunned. The frigid energy radiating from Ying Huanhuan far surpassed Lin Dong's. It dawned on them that the most formidable person here wasn't Lin Dong, but this icy, enigmatic girl who had always accompanied him. The 7th king and his 2 allies were equally shaken by this turn of events. Their gazes fixed on Ying Huanhuan, and as realization dawned, their pupils constricted in shock. Their faces turned pale with dread as one of them stammered, "You're the Ice Lord?" The Ice Lord, a being second only to the ancestral Talisman master during ancient times. Countless alien demon kings had fallen to her, reduced to frozen shards. Even the strongest entity in the demon prison, the Heavenly Demon King, had been grievously injured by her during the final battle of the ancient war, forcing the demon prison into retreat and bringing an end to the long-standing conflict. For the alien demons, the name Ice Lord was a symbol of terror. Ying Huanhuan's icy blue eyes bore into the 3 demon kings. Then, with a slight clench of her delicate hand, the 3 ice sculptures behind her shattered with a crisp explosion, scattering brilliant shards of ice into the air. The 7th king and his allies flinched at the sight, their expressions grim. Ying Huanhuan finally stood before Lin Dong, her eyes catching his pale face. This man always took the hardest tasks upon himself, sometimes impulsive, sometimes domineering. But despite this, a gentle warmth always seemed to flow through her once cold heart. "Huanhuan." Lin Dong looked at her, taking in the chilling aura that surrounded her, and furrowed his brows slightly. Ying Huanhuan gave him a small smile as her cool, jade-like hand touched his body. Ice fragments appeared over his wounds, and a cold energy surged into him, calming the chaotic upheaval of his organs. "Leave them to me." Her icy hand caressed his face, and she spoke softly. "You can't expect me to watch you get hurt like this and stay indifferent, can you? That would be selfish." Lin Dong hesitated briefly, then murmured, "I am very selfish. But I love that about you." She smiled fully, her eyes meeting his. "But this time, even if you scold or hit me, I won't just stand by and watch." Lin Dong gazed at her, seeing the smile on her face, mixed with an unshakable determination. He sighed lightly, "Be careful." Seeing him nod, Ying Huanhuan's smile brightened. She nodded slightly before turning around, her gaze once more landing on the 3 from the 7th king with an ice-cold stare that could freeze the air. The 7th king's trio flinched at her gaze, instinctively stepping back. After all, the name of the Ice Lord was far too renowned in ancient times. Don't fear her. She's not the true Ice Lord, just the Ice Lord reincarnated. Her power isn't fully restored yet. 7th king gritted his teeth and barked. Hearing this, both the 8th king and 10th king nodded, focusing their gaze on Ying Huanhuan with a dark expression. "Perfect. Let's kill her before her strength returns." "You little mice might find that hard," Ying Huanhuan responded, extending her slender jade fingers. Cold air condensed into ice lotuses at her fingertips, and she glanced at them calmly. "Humph, let's see." The trio exchanged cold glances before stepping forward in unison, unleashing a terrifying surge of demonic aura. Among them, the 7th king's aura was notably weaker, likely due to Lin Dong's previous attack. Even so, when their auras merged, the effect was astonishing. Their demonic energy rose like billowing smoke, visible for miles. Roar! The trio let out a beast-like growl, eyes filled with malice as they changed hand seals. 3 beams of demonic energy shot forth like lightning, aimed at Ying Huanhuan. The beams were as thick as water and carried an evil aura that sent chills down the spine. Yet, facing their combined assault, Ying Huanhuan simply lifted her gaze. Just as the beams were about to strike, she stamped her delicate foot lightly. Boom! An overwhelming cold swept forth, instantly forming an enormous blue ice shield in front of her. When the energy beams struck, the domineering cold instantly enveloped them. Crack. The beams froze mid-air, ice spreading across them at an incredible speed. In moments, each fearsome beam had transformed into towering pillars of gleaming ice. Damn it! The trio's expressions turned grim as they watched the demonic energy freeze. Before they could act again, Ying Huanhuan clenched her hand, and the giant ice pillars shot towards them in retaliation. Boom! The trio quickly met the attack with all their might, their fists cloaked in dark energy crashing into the ice pillars. The clash shattered the pillars into myriad ice shards. Though the ice broke, both the 8th and 10th kings grunted, while the already weakened 7th king went pale, involuntarily coughing up a mouthful of black blood. Incredible! On the island, countless eyes watched the ice-blue figure take on 3 enemies and gain the upper hand, leaving them all dumbfounded. Lin Dong's performance had already amazed them, but who could have known this girl beside him was just as remarkable? Ying Huanhuan's gaze remained frosty as she looked at the trio, stepping gracefully towards them. The coldness around her brimmed with a readiness to strike. The 7th king trembled involuntarily as Ying Huanhuan approached step by step. Back in ancient times, they had once crossed paths with the Ice Lord but barely escaped with their lives. Now, if they didn't join forces, they would likely meet their end here. The 8th and 10th kings clenched their teeth and nodded in agreement. The 3 swiftly changed their hand seals, and with a loud clash, their energies collided. Suddenly, their bodies began to contort unnaturally. Sinister spikes emerged slowly from within them, transforming them into demonic figures that seemed to have crawled out of the depths of hell, chilling all who witnessed them. Chi! Black blood burst violently from their bodies, the thick liquid swirling in the air above them to form an eerie black sigil. The black demonic sigil expanded rapidly, growing to an immense size within moments. Around its edges, countless demonic arms extended outward, making it look like a monstrous being from the void, an evil celestial demon. Ying Huanhuan raised her gaze, her cold, blue eyes fixed on the sigil, now teeming with countless demonic arms. An even greater chill emanated from her as she stood unmoved. 10,000 demons converge. The 7th king and his companions howled sharply, their cries echoing through the heavens. Boom! The enormous sigil trembled violently before plummeting from the sky. Its countless arms swung with such ferocity that it seemed as though the heavens and earth would be torn apart. Below, the sea erupted into massive waves, their deafening roar reverberating far and wide. Lin Dong watched the terrifying onslaught with a heavy expression. The demon kings of the demon prison were indeed formidable. Such an attack could likely obliterate any peak expert who had endured 2 reincarnation tribulations. I don't know if Huanhuan can handle this, Lin Dong murmured worriedly, his hand clenched tightly. Primordial energy surged within him, ready to activate the space ancestral talisman and pull her to safety if necessary. Ying Huanhuan tilted her delicate chin slightly, her icy blue hair flowing in the wind. Her calm gaze remained fixed on the descending abyssal demonic sigil. Even as its terrifying force surged towards her, making her dress flutter wildly, her expression remained serene. The sigil's massive shadow engulfed her, growing larger with each passing moment under countless horrified gazes. Ying Huanhuan slowly raised her slender jade-like arm. Her azure sleeve slipped down, revealing a wrist as flawless as white jade. Extending her fingers, she calmly reached out, her hand meeting the sigil. Eternal. Freeze. Her cold yet melodious voice echoed across the sky. The terrifying sigil, brimming with devastating power, abruptly froze in place. Crack. The moment it froze, countless pupils shrank in shock. Ice began to spread from Ying Huanhuan's outstretched hand, rapidly encasing the entire sigil. Within seconds, it had become an enormous block of ice. Ying Huanhuan's calm eyes lifted slightly as her slender fingers gently flicked the frozen sigil. Boom! The sigil, imbued with the combined might of the 7th, 8th, and 10th kings, shattered like fragile glass, scattering into countless icy shards that fell like a brilliant snowstorm. However, beneath the beauty of the icy explosion lay an overwhelming, terrifying power. Who could have imagined that the combined assault of the three demon kings could be so effortlessly dismantled? This is the power of the Ice Lord? Lin Dong muttered, his hands unconsciously clenching tighter. This strength was truly unparalleled. No wonder she was hailed as the strongest beneath the ancestral Talisman master. High in the sky, the 7th, 8th, and 10th kings were left staring in disbelief. Then, as if unable to contain their shock, they spat out black blood. Their trembling forms weakened visibly as the surrounding demonic aura dissipated rapidly, showing the heavy toll they had suffered. Ying Huanhuan's icy blue eyes showed no trace of emotion as she gazed at the three. In a flash, her figure appeared before them, her hand radiating an earth-shattering cold that spread outward. The three kings, seeing Ying Huanhuan's relentless pursuit, turned pale and hastily split apart, retreating in three directions. Qi. With an icy gleam in her eyes, Ying Huanhuan clenched her hand, summoning a long, azure ice spear. Her figure blurred, splitting into three identical icy forms, each pursuing one of the retreating kings. The spears pierced through the void, hurtling towards their targets with devastating precision. The three members of the 7th King Hall saw that Ying Huanhuan was relentlessly pursuing them, and their expressions instantly changed. With a low growl, a torrent of demonic aura surged outward, forming a massive barrier of demonic energy in front of them, attempting to block her path. However, facing their defense, the coldness in Ying Huanhuan's eyes only intensified. Without a moment's hesitation, she thrust her ice spear directly forward, piercing through the demonic energy. Crack! The thick, viscous demonic aura rapidly solidified into ice, and the ice spear tore through it with unstoppable force, finally stabbing into the bodies of the three men. Screech! The powerful demon emperor armor twisted and deformed under the force of the ice spear, but it was ultimately pierced by the chilling cold. The ice spear, radiating an unearthly cold aura, pierced through their bodies, relentlessly driving forward. Spurt! The three men were sent flying, their bodies in a sorry state as black blood gushed from them, spilling out uncontrollably. A chilling aura spread across their bodies, forming thin layers of ice on their skin. Phew! Lin Dong watched as the three members of the 7th King Hall crumbled in an instant. He exhaled softly. Such power was truly terrifying. Ying Huanhuan had not even fully awakened yet, but her strength had likely surpassed that of a peak powerhouse who had survived 2 rounds of the reincarnation tribulation. If she ever fully awakened, who knew how horrifying her power would be? In the sky, the three members of the 7th King Hall regrouped, constantly releasing demonic energy to fend off the freezing cold that was creeping in. They knew that once their bodies became ice statues, Ying Huanhuan would be able to shatter them into countless ice shards with a single flick of her finger. Even some of the more powerful alien demons from years past had met their end that way, dying under the touch of her jade-like, white hand. As they looked up at Ying Huanhuan once again, a trace of fear finally flashed in their eyes. In her ice-blue, crystal-clear eyes, there was no trace of emotion. She was like true frozen ice, every feeling locked beneath the surface, as if frozen in time. "You deserve to die," she murmured to the three from the 7th King Hall, before her figure suddenly moved. In the blink of an eye, she appeared above them, her jade-like hand raised, and an ancient, cold ice symbol materialized, transforming into a concentrated beam of frigid light that shot toward them. Whoosh! The beam ripped through the sky, freezing the very space around it. The three from the 7th King Hall suddenly felt the surrounding space solidify, rendering them unable to move. They could only watch in horror as the destructive beam of cold energy sped toward them. Fear, intense and overwhelming, surged in their eyes. However, just as the cold beam was about to engulf them, the space in front of them twisted in a bizarre manner, and a shadow suddenly appeared out of nowhere. "Heh, Ice Lord, with your status, why bother bullying these juniors?" A light laugh rang out as the shadow took form, though there was an unmistakable tone of seriousness and wariness hidden within. The figure extended a hand, revealing a strange, evil-looking eye in his palm. Opening his hand, The evil eye suddenly widened, and a viscous, pitch-black beam of light shot out, colliding head-on with the cold energy beam. The two beams of destructive energy collided violently, sending terrifying shockwaves through the air, tearing apart the clouds above. The sky trembled, and Ying Huanhuan's delicate body shuddered slightly. She was forced back several steps. Her cold, ice-blue eyes locked onto the shadow that had appeared. The third King Hall? So, you're finally showing yourself? All eyes turned toward the figure standing before the three from the seventh King Hall. A man in black stood there, smiling, with a thin layer of ice covering his palm, sealing the evil eye. The third King Hall? Lin Dong's expression shifted slightly as he moved swiftly to stand behind Ying Huanhuan. He could feel an overwhelming sense of danger radiating from the third King Hall. Clearly, this individual's strength was on par with a peak powerhouse who had survived 3 rounds of the reincarnation tribulation. Such a figure was among the top-tier combatants of the alien demons during the ancient wars. To think that even someone like him had appeared now. The man from the third King Hall glanced at Lin Dong, smiling slightly. With a flick of his arm, the thin ice layer covering his hand shattered. I wasn't planning to show myself with you here, but this scar, it still makes my heart tremble, the third Demon King said with a smile, his fingers brushing across the hideous scar on his face. Despite the scar, his expression only grew gentler. Ying Huanhuan cast him a cold glance. Her jade-like hand began to radiate an intense, chilling aura. Then this time, I'll turn you into an ice sculpture. Heh. The third Demon King chuckled lightly. I'm afraid you're no longer capable of that. Then come and see for yourself. Ying Huanhuan's icy gaze remained unyielding. With a twist of her hand, a terrifyingly cold aura erupted from her body, causing the surrounding space to emit faint cracking sounds. The third Demon King's eyes locked onto Ying Huanhuan, his smile deepening. Heh, I really do want to kill you. Back then, you left me in such a wretched state, disgracing me before my emperor. As his voice trailed off, the gentle smile on his face twisted into something grotesque, and endless malice surged in his eyes. Today, I'll truly put an end to you. With a sudden step forward, the third Demon King's demonic aura surged skyward, enveloping the land for 1,000 miles. Even the blazing sun in the sky was shrouded, no longer daring to reveal itself. The sheer pressure of his aura made the heavens and earth tremble. Seeing this, Lin Dong's expression shifted. A thunder bow formed in his hand once again, and his other hand instinctively reached for Ying Huanhuan's icy fingers. Ying Huanhuan stiffened at the touch, but soon relaxed. She turned her head, offering Lin Dong a reassuring smile. He won't make a move. Lin Dong was momentarily stunned, clearly puzzled. Someone will stop him, Ying Huanhuan said with a faint smile. Her gaze then turned to a specific point in the void. Still hiding, are you? Heh, little junior sister's senses are as sharp as ever. As soon as her voice fell, the space before them began to ripple. A faint chuckle echoed, and from the distorted space emerged a slender figure clad in a silver robe. This person had pale, flowing hair and a thin frame. But the most striking feature was his eyes, brilliant silver pupils radiating a mysterious, otherworldly energy. Lin Dong's eyes widened in surprise as he recognized the figure. It was the same enigmatic individual he had encountered in the depths of the sky cave of the celestial demon Martin clan. This person was one of the 8 ancient lords? So, you must be Lin Dong, the silver-eyed man said with a smile, his gaze shifting briefly to the clasped hands of Lin Dong and Ying Huanhuan. A knowing smirk appeared. I see. Interesting. You are the Space Lord, aren't you? Lin Dong asked, his expression tightening. The moment this man appeared, Lin Dong could feel the space ancestral talisman within him quivering. He immediately realized the man's identity. The Space Lord nodded with a smile. Apologies for the delay. I was trapped by a spell in the demon prison for a while. But, little junior sister, I didn't slack off. See? The moment I got free, I rushed here. Pretty fast, right? Faster than the Thunder Lord, at least. Ying Huanhuan's icy blue eyes glanced at him indifferently, and the Space Lord's voice faltered. He shook his head helplessly. Still the same as ever, huh? Turning around, the Space Lord's gaze fell on the third Demon King. Ah, an old acquaintance. How have you been these years? I see your face recovered. Weren't you disfigured by little junior sister before? Lin Dong couldn't help but feel a bit dumbfounded. The Space Lord's verbose demeanor seemed to undercut the imposing aura he initially exuded. The third Demon King frowned at the sight of the Space Lord's arrival, a sigh of resignation in his heart. This man had come so quickly. It seems I won't be able to kill her today, the third Demon King muttered, stretching lazily. However, a sly grin curled his lips. But we've still accomplished our objective. Ying Huanhuan and the Space Lord's eyes sharpened at his words. At that moment, Lin Dong's heart jolted. He turned to gaze at the distant sea, where he suddenly sensed a surge of overwhelming, violent demonic energy. Ying Huanhuan exhaled softly, her eyes now utterly frigid. The great heavenly evil Demon King,